What's up, guys? Welcome back. So this is episode 3 in our mixing series where we're mixing a song from front to back. So we talked a little bit about building a balance with our drums in the last video. In this video, we're going to talk about building a balance in the overall mix using just the faders and the pans before we start jumping into EQs and compressors and all the other stuff. So let's jump in. I'm going to share my screen with you here. Okay, so we've got our drum balance going. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start pushing up faders and getting things where I want them. Notice I trimmed down the drums just a little bit because we were starting to get a little hot there. So we're going to start with the bass. And again, before grabbing any EQs, compressors, anything, obviously I do have my channel strip on here, but it's not doing anything. There might be a little bit of compression happening, but it's very, very minimal. The main thing that we want to do is we just want to start pushing up faders and getting a good balance, and then using our pans to kind of just create a quick image of the mix. I think that the faster that we can do this, the more musical decisions we're going to make. Again, if we start soloing stuff and like, oh, how do I get the bass to sound super smooth and bassy before we've actually listened to the bass in context of what it's doing in the song, I think that's where we start making isolated decisions that are not going to be beneficial for the whole song. So that's why we like to take the top-down approach, at least I do. And yeah, so let's jump in. So I'm going to hit play. Also worth noting real quick, notice we've got a kind of big section of the song, big chorus or something like that. That way we're kind of getting everything balanced at the loudest point dynamically, so that hopefully, you know, downrange and the other parts of the songs where maybe things are a little bit quieter, we can always adjust, trim gains, automation, things like that if we need to. But usually a good rule of thumb is if we can get a solid balance with our volume and our panning in the loudest part of the song, it's probably going to work pretty well, or at least be pretty close in the rest of the parts of the song. So here we go. Make sure these guitars are panned here. So that's a cool vibe, even just by itself. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just build a cool vibe as quickly as possible. Okay, so we've got drums, bass, acoustics working together. Got some cool rubber bridge stuff here. Let's bring in our piano. So I want to explain something with panning here. So you'll notice I've got all of these guitars, all these electric guitars are stereo. These acoustics are not, the rubber bridge stuff is not, but these electric guitars are all recorded stereo, which is awesome. So you'll notice I just changed to a simple panning mode where it's just kind of giving us a left and right balance versus this kind of like, this is very familiar in Pro Tools where you've got both left and right. That's kind of useful, but like, so let's say I do this on this guy. It's the same equivalent essentially as just doing this. So it's just a little bit simpler. I like using that because what I want to do, we've got two rhythm guitars here that are stereo. So if I kind of take the pans and just balance them where you're hearing a little bit more, it's a little bit right heavy on this one, a little bit left heavy on this guy. You're still going to get the, like, obviously the choice to record these in stereo by the guitar players because he's got effects that are stereo. He's creating more of a sense of space in his recording using like stereo recording. So it's three-dimensional. It sounds big and wide and awesome. So we don't want to necessarily, I mean, we could, but we don't necessarily want to just pan those hard left or right. We want to leave some of that sense of width in there, but we can still get that kind of like wide, one thing's happening on the left, one thing's happening on the right, and it sounds different. It sounds bigger that way. We can still get that by just kind of tilting these over a little bit until it feels right. So let's listen to these guys. That sounds pretty cool. Okay, another thing here. Notice that I'm starting the order of which I'm kind of mixing this stuff. I started with the drums, started with the bass, then I started with the acoustics. And then before I jumped to the electrics, I added a little bit of key stuff in, and then we went to the electrics. The reason for that is with what's here, I want to kind of identify what is the what's kind of the leading instrument or the main instrument melodically. And this is a very subjective thing to the individual song that you're working on. What instrument is kind of carrying the song? I think that would be in this song, the upright piano and the acoustics. If we go back and we can listen to like the verses and stuff early on, especially when the verses kind of break down, I think the upright piano is really kind of carrying like if you imagine the performer, like what instrument are they performing on? If they're singing and playing the instrument, what instrument are they leading the song from? In this case, and I don't know that this was exactly, I'm not saying that this is only applicable if that's the real scenario, but more so we're kind of creating this mental image when somebody's listening to the song, regardless if the artist actually sat down and played and sang the piano at the same time. That's not the point. The point is we're kind of creating this mental sound stage when people listen to the song where it feels like the song is kind of being, the main character musically is kind of the piano, or maybe sometimes it's the acoustic guitar. Again, it's subject to the song that you're mixing. In this case, I feel like it's the piano. So that's why I want to get my drums as the foundation, my bass kind of as the next layer of that foundation. And then the acoustics are going to be wide left and right because they're doubled. So that's kind of more of like, it's still kind of a rhythmic thing, but it's different versus like, let's say this was a country song that's real slow and broken down. It's just a guy on his acoustic guitar leading. Well, then we probably want to let that be the main character, right? In this case, these acoustics are not serving that purpose as being the kind of main character part of telling that story. They're more acting as a rhythmic left and right doubled thing that's kind of helping drive the song, but from a really organic acoustic way. That's also kind of what the rhythm electrics are doing. So that's why I'm kind of layering it like, I want the upright to be kind of the main character that's always present throughout the song. Now we can obviously use volume automation to change the scene a little bit throughout the different sections of the song. But I think that it's going to be pretty consistent that upright is going to be, I don't necessarily mean that it's the loudest thing in the mix. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's present enough to where even when the song is big and everything's around it, you still hear it as kind of pushing the song along melodically, chord wise. It's just kind of there. And so that's kind of how I'm layering it. And then I'll approach the lead guitar stuff as more of like a top line counter melody thing that's happening. And so, we'll get into that. And then we've got an EG pads. We've got, it looks like a lead guitar 1 and 2. So we're going to kind of listen to these guys and see what role they're playing in this. And notice I'm saving my vocals for last. That is very intentional. So what I think I'm going to do, I think I'm actually going to push these rhythm guitars a little bit more into the sides, so I can leave these guys, because they're doing some really nice melodic stuff, counter melodies and whatnot. And they're really taking kind of that primary spot. Again, I'm not saying they're taking a primary spot over the upright, but as like what's interesting, what's creating melodic sounds and stuff, what's kind of like the one note, single note lines that are being played. It's these guys right here, EG1 and EG2. Now, some people could just take it and be like, okay, you know, I prefer what's happening in this guy. I kind of like having both of them doing things because, again, the more that we can have slight variances in the left and right channels of your stereo mix, the more it's going to pull your attention both ways and make the mix sound really wide. So we're going to kind of experiment with that here. Just realized that I found this tom overdub guy. I should have added that in the percussion when we were talking about the percussion, but this is really cool. He's like doing some rim clicks and stuff. Okay, so as it is, that feels pretty good to me, balance-wise. Again, I'm not saying that's the final mix. Notice that I've left the vocals for last. That's intentional, because we want our mix to be like kind of this music bed, if you will, for our vocals to rest right on top of. And we've got some background vocals, we've got some doubled vocals, so we can do some stuff with the panning to make the vocals feel kind of larger than life. But ultimately, you know, I talked about the upright being kind of the main character instrument wise. Well, the vocals are always going to be, the lead vocals are always going to be the absolute main character. That doesn't mean by nature we just want them to be the loudest, you know, or like so loud in the mix that it feels disconnected. We want it to still kind of sink in the music so it feels believable and feels big. You'd be surprised just the level of like bringing the volume of the lead vocals down just a little bit so they kind of sink into the mix. That often gives a perception that the mix feels bigger, versus whenever it feels like the vocals are almost separate from the instruments, and it kind of just feels like the instruments are small and quiet. So there's a really interesting perception thing that can happen. We're going to talk about that a little bit in the next video. But first, before we even get to that, in this next video, I want to talk about our mix bus approach, how we're going to kind of do the top-down mixing thing where now that we've got a good balance, maybe we can shape that balance a little bit more, bring out some more clarity in our mix bus before going back to the individual channels and, you know, kind of working it from there. So let's go to the next video. And let's talk about that, and we'll jump in. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions throughout this process, anything that you would like for me to go more in depth in explaining. And be sure, of course, to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video.